And now reconvene the regular council meeting for Monday, March 23rd, 2026. Before we move on, we'd like to acknowledge that this council meeting is being held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda and the regular council meeting of Monday, March 23rd, 2026? Councillor Blissett, Councillor Popoff, all in favor? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the following minutes of the regular council meeting of Monday, March 9th, 2026, and the minutes of the special council meeting of Monday, March 16th, 2026? Mover, please, Councillor Ray. Councillor Popoff. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, moving to new business. The first bylaw for consideration tonight is from Bylaw Enforcement Services regarding unsightly premises amendment bylaw number 4235, 2026. This bylaw is back before council tonight for adoption. Can I get a motion that council adopt unsightly premises amendment bylaw number 4235, 2026? Mover, please, Councillor Blissett, Councillor Popoff. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks, guys. Next bylaw for consideration is from Corporate Services regarding council procedure amendment bylaw number 4238, 2026. The bylaw is back before council tonight for adoption as well. Can I get a motion that council adopt council procedure bylaw amendment bylaw number 4238, 2026? Councillor Ray, Councillor Blissett. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Next bylaw is also from Corporate Services regarding sign amendment bylaw number 4239, 2026. This bylaw is back before council tonight for adoption as well. Can I get a motion that council adopt sign amendment bylaw number 4239, 2026? Councillor Blissett, Councillor Popoff. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. It's carried. Next bylaw is from Bylaw Enforcement Service regarding Public Places Amendment bylaw number 4240, 2026. Bylaw is back again for adoption tonight. Can I get a motion that council adopt Public Places Amendment bylaw number 4240, 2026? Councillor Ray, Councillor Popoff. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Next bylaw for consideration is from Engineering Development Services regarding Waterworks Amendment bylaw number 4241, 2026. And again, this one as well is back for adoption. Can I get a motion that council adopt Waterworks Amendment bylaw number 4241, 2026? Mover, Councillor Blissett, Councillor Stetsky. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks, guys. And the final bylaw for consideration is from Recreation and Culture regarding Recreation and Culture Fees and Charges Amendment bylaw number 4242, 2026. And this as well is back for adoption tonight. Can I get a motion that council adopt Recreation and Culture Fees and Charges Amendment bylaw number 4242, 2026? Mover, please. Councillor Popoff, Councillor Stetsky. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, guys. Okay, moving into new business. First item of new business is from Corporate Services Finance regarding BC Transit fare review and recommended fare adjustments. We have staff on hand to give us an overview of the report.
Hi, I'm Dana Kowite. I'm a government relations manager with BC Transit, and I work closely with several of your staff on the transit file here. I'm joined today by my colleague Midhat Malik, who is the business development advisor with BC Transit and has become our in-house sort of specialist for fare reviews, and she will lead a presentation today.
Hi everyone, I'm just working on sharing my screen, so just hold on. Share. Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, we can see that. We can hear
Okay.
you.
Awesome. So thank you so much for the time today to discuss this topic about the fair review. We were able to meet a bit earlier last fall to discuss that we were going to begin to look into the system. We've discussed our fair objectives for fair review, but I'll just go over some things pretty quickly. So we do fair reviews across all transit systems in the BC Transit systems. And we usually have similar goals for the fair reviews. We want to optimize revenue. We want to ensure there's affordability for the transit system and the local population. And we want to make sure, first and foremost, to attract and retain ridership. And when we look at fair reviews in each specific systems, we look at different considerations where we might want to focus on. So in the Cranbrook Transit System, we want to make sure that we're, of course, increasing ease for passengers to boost ridership, but also there are opportunities to increase or to simplify the fare structure, which will promote ease for passengers. We want to maximize the use of UMO, which is our electronic fare collection system that was implemented in 2024. We believe there are certain features that are available in UMO that will support a more simple and easy to understand system. So we want to just also make sure to take advantage of some of those features. And then we want to make sure we're looking at equity considerations between the conventional transit system that's fixed route service and the custom transit system, which is for handy riders. And considering different ways to increase revenue, there's some prepaid fare programs that exist in our arsenal that we'd like to introduce into the Cranbrook system. So I'll go over all of those today. So just taking a look at the existing fare product revenues, we can see that there are a lot of fare products available for transit riders at the moment. One way that we want to simplify or like take advantage of the use of UMO for future fare collection ease is with the phase 2, where we would introduce like debit and credit tap. We think this is something that is currently piloted in a few systems already, and it will, once we make sure that everything is seamless, we're going to be able to introduce it in all transit systems. And so one thing that we are always making sure to consider is so the single ride fare can only be one fare with UMO. So we'd want to make sure that we are getting ready, preparing the transit system for when we can do debit and credit tap. So we'd want to make sure that single ride fare is the same, one fare, so that there is equity between all user types. We'd maintain a discounted pass for 30-day for regular riders, which would be the 30-day pass. But yeah, we'd want to consider removing the single ride pass right now. So another thing we see in this transit system is the UPass is a very popular product and has a lot of revenue. So it's very, it is a very healthy system. So when we are looking at doing a fare review in any of our transit systems, we are always trying to align to our BC Transit fare strategy guidelines. So the fare strategy guidelines are outlined in the second column, and then I've overlaid that with what our fare structure looks like with the Cranbrook fare column. So we have our single ride fare, which is what we consider our base fare, and everything else is tied to the base fare in some way or the other. So with the single ride fare, we have one fare for adults and one for students and seniors. We recommend a universal fare for all riders in order to prepare for the debit and credit tap. For our day pass rate, we recommend a day pass to be 2 times the base fare. At the moment, it is 1.7 times the single ride fare, so we'd look to adjust that. For our 10 rides product, we recommend offering a one-time discount for pre-purchasing a 10 rides. So right now it's 8.9 times, so we recommend adjusting that. For our 30-day pass product for adults, we recommend a range anything between 20 to 30 times the single ride fare. At the moment, it's 22.2 times, which is within our recommended guidelines. Our 30-day concession fare product for students and seniors is recommended to be a 15% discount, and this is in line with a lot of similar rates for seniors and students in other realms. So in Cranbrook, it is a 30% discount, and so we'd be looking to get closer towards our guidelines. We also offer a additionally discounted product for students in the form of a student semester pass, which is an additional 20% discount on top of the already discounted 30-day concession pass product. And then in addition, we have the Handy Dart service, which is currently priced at $3. We want to maintain equity and not increase the Handy Dart fares more than conventional. So we'd be looking to just make sure that we can see how to align our conventional system as well. So when we look back at our fare review history, the last time there was a fare review that was conducted was in 2014, where we actually introduced a student semester pass for the first time. No other fares were adjusted at that time. And then the last time there was a fare change was in the fare review before that in 2011, where the single ride fare went from $2 to $2.25. And 30-day pass went from $45 to $50, which was a $5 increase. And another thing just to note is that because fares haven't increased in over 15 years, I just did like a look at the inflation calculator, and a $2.25 fare in 2011 is equivalent to $3.15 in today's currency. We looked at transit fares across comparable transit systems, whether close by or in terms of population served and ridership. And we see that, so Kimberly just did its fare change approvals last month, and they are going to be moving their single ride fare to $3.50 effective end of June of this year. Salt Spring Island just approved their fare change last week to adjust their single ride fare from $2.25 to $2.75, which will be effective in May of this year. And then we have other comparable systems in terms of ridership and population that haven't adjusted their fares around the same time as when Cranbrook has adjusted their fares, and it is also similarly priced. But we also know that across Canada, the average fare for single ride adult is $3.50. So there is lots of room to play in that regard for what we see as a normal price for transit. When we look at historically revenues versus like how much revenue is covers the total amount that it takes to run transit, we're seeing a less and less of the revenue from fares covers total cost, and just wanted to remind council that all transit revenues that are received are provided directly to the municipality to cover the municipal portion of total costs. Oop. Don't know why it looks like that. Okay. So here is the results from the transit survey, which was conducted in line with the Transit Future Action Plan. The survey was held between January 15th to February 15th of this year, and we got over 270 responses. When asked how a small fare increase might impact transit use, 70% indicated that would either not change their usage, or they would adjust their usage slightly. And then when we saw respondents were also asked how whether passenger fares should contribute more towards funding transit operations in order to reduce the a reliance on property taxes, and a majority of respondents, over 51%, supported the approach that passenger fares should contribute more versus property taxes. Okay, so one thing that we touched on briefly earlier was that we have an existing prepaid fare program in the system, which is UPass. It is very successful. We have an agreement with the College of the Rockies that contributes over 31% of the fare revenues for the transit system. It's a guaranteed stable income source, and it provides like a opportunity for students to use transit and like transit and become future regular transit riders. And just like that, we have a new prepaid fare programs that we'd like to introduce. We've got the ProPass program, which is a program where we would partner with local employers and provide a 15% discount off the regular 30-day adult pass as long as they sign up for a 12-month commitment. And this would support employers in achieving their incentive goals, providing incentives to their employees and reducing their parking demands and costs. But also it supports the transit system and getting guaranteed stable revenue for a 15% discount off the 30-day pass. Another new fare program that we'd like to introduce is the EcoPass. This would be a bulk purchase discount, and it's a fund that is supported through UMO, which is where we would allow organizations to invest in the transit system to support a specific user group in being able to use transit and draw down from a bulk purchase fund. So we've seen success with this with property developers in Victoria, but there are other use cases as well that can be considered with this tool. Next, we'd like to share with you the fare structure adjustment that we'd recommend. This is a 2-year, a phased approach to adjust fares over the course of 3 years. So we'd recommend increasing the fare to $2.50 immediately in this year and make it into a universal fare for all riders for the single ride. We would recommend over time increasing it to $3 to get closer towards what it should be for inflation, which was $3.15, but align to what the Handy Dart fare is so that it is simple and understandable that a conventional and Handy Dart fare is the same price. We would look to increase the 30-day pass at a predictable rate as well, and maintain a larger discount for the student semester pass over time, increasing from a 20% discount, which we have today, to a 25% discount by 2028. And we believe this will increase fare revenue by $22,000 this year and then $33,000 the next fare adjustment in 2028. In terms of our timeline, we introduced this to council in the fall. We did our survey earlier this year. We've prepared our report and recommendations for your consideration today. And once you determine how you would like to proceed, we would just need 12 weeks to implement the fare change. So the earliest that we could implement a fare change this year would be in July, but we can certainly increase or adjust fares after that. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Pardon me. Thank you very much. What I'll do is I've got a motion here, and maybe we'll go to questions right after the motion. Can I get a motion that council approve a phased adjustment to the Cranbrook Transit conventional fare structures presented in the background information of this report, and further that council direct staff to work with BC Transit on the implementation of the fare changes? Mover Councillor Ray, Councillor Brissette. Discussion, Councillor Brissette.
Thank you. I noted you mentioned that Kimberley went to $3.50 on their transit system. So I'm assuming, like, did they decide not to do a phased-in approach and just go to, you know, the full fare? And do we have that option as well?
Yeah, we certainly have an option to go to the full fare immediately. Kimberly has also done a phased approach to increase to $4 by 2028.
Okay, thank you. I would just like to mention that, I mean, moving from $2.25 to me has been a sort of a crazy cheap price that we've had for transit. $3 is still, I think, reasonable. I'm not sure on the other like if you put that screen, looking at the passes, maybe. But even so, I mean, certainly the U-Pass is very reasonably priced. And I would say, like, I don't see a problem going to $3 a day immediately, because it's going to take, you know, another 2 years to get to $3. And even then, we're not going to approach paying making a substantial dent in the cost of operating a transit system here.
Thank you. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. If you go back to your last screen, which was prices, did I miss it, or is there nothing there for seniors on that list?
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. So seniors would be able to purchase the 30-day pass, the concession fare, which is currently at $35, but we'd recommend it increase to $45 immediately, or for this year, and then $55.
So other than that, they're treated as adults then, in terms of fares?
Yeah.
Okay. And while I've got you, one of the things I've always wondered is if Cranbrook has talked about going to more of an on-demand system, on-call system, if I remember right. What happens with fares under a system like that? Do they stay the same, or is there additional cost because you're getting kind of personalized service almost?
So I can speak to the fares part, and then if Danica wanted to jump in about costs. So the fares would stay the same, and with the additional service, people would be allowed to pay a single ride fare or use their monthly pass to be able to use the new service. So the fares would be as presented.
Okay. And that's still in the works for Cranbrook?
Yeah, so that's looking to be presented to you guys next month, but it is something that is in the plans.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Council? Councillor Ray.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I really appreciate the simplified fare structure, and I particularly appreciate that it's going to align with new technical options in terms of paying. I think that's really positive.
Further? Councillor Brissette.
So I'm just not sure if I'm just creating a problem by suggesting moving ahead to the full fare, or sort of a partial approach to that. It's certainly, I mean, it's not even going to be implemented till the summer. So maybe it is easier just to leave it as is.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a feeling around the table on that.
Thank you. Well, we've got the motion is for a phased-in adjustment. So, you know, I guess if that's carried, that's what it is. You know, if it's opposed, then we'll look at something else. Fair? Okay. Further? I'll call it. Who?
Can you ask her to stop sharing her screen?
All right.
Just ask her to stop sharing. Oh, Margaret now.
Okay.
Technical.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Gotcha. Technology. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. We have Councillor Peabody opposed. Is that correct, Mike?
I was waiting to see what Councillor Blissett did because I do agree with her going straight to the $3 fare. Seems like a good idea. But yeah, it looks like council voted to go with the phase-in approach. So I will support that.
Thank you very much. So that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council approve the introduction of the Pro Pass program for employers priced at 15% below the adult 30-day pass and the Eco Pass bulk purchase program? And further, that council directs staff to work with BC Transit on the implementation of the new programs. Mover, please. Councillor Popoff, Councillor Blissett. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Next item, new business is from Public Works regarding wastewater collection system and lagoons granular enzyme treatment. We have staff on hand to give us a brief overview of the report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have Jonathan Lee here today from Actizyme Products. He is a director with Actizyme Products. He's going to put on a little presentation for us before the report.
Floor is yours.
Hello, and thank you for having me come. I appreciate the time to, it looks like it moved ahead already. Just a second here. Is that me touching on? I don't know if this is working then. Let me try. Does that work? Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, so Actizyme's actually been around for over 70 years. It's a BC company. Actually, it's registered in federally, but we make all of our products here in BC, in Grand Forks, actually, not too far. We work together with municipalities to develop products that are biological in nature to enhance treatment and to essentially approve and enhance biological reactions within wastewater. So you can see here's a quick picture of an example of a system that we did within 4 months. Now this isn't a system much hotter than ours, climate, but the whole idea is to understand the image of what transpires. In 4 months, the first picture at the top is municipal sludge. And within 4 months is completely liquefied, broken down, digested, and converted into water, nutrients, and gases. So the same natural process that takes place in any wastewater system, what we do is we extract that biological, bacterial, and enzyme compounds, and we concentrate it into significant volumes so that we're into the billions and billions when we're adding it, so that it can quickly turn around and reduce the sludge volume. So this is just one example. We're going to go through a few more here, more in Canada, but I just wanted to show you that as it's very drastic. You could see what is the potential. Here is one that we did in Canada not too long ago, a couple of years ago in Ontario. They had issues with their effluent quality. You could see at the bottom their BOD and their TSS were almost, well, the BRD was outside of their permit. So they were having issues with their effluent. Which is an issue regularly in most places. And that often occurs when organics increase in your system. Then it moves from one cell to the next and then is discharged. And that's why they become non-compliant. So this is what their issue was. when we first approached them, we're like, well, let's take an assessment of your sludge. They had significant amounts of sludge. So that was what we focused on. And within 1 year, they reduced their sludge by 6,800 cubic meters, saved them town well over $125,000 in just removal alone. On top of that, it improved their suspended solids and their BOD, so they were able to now become completely compliant. And that was in conjunction with Aqua. They're like a crown corporation in Ontario. They manage and run almost all of the medium to small wastewater plants in there. More closer to you guys, Invermere, also a little similar system, fully aerated lagoon. They did a 2-year project and were able to focus, their whole focus was on reducing their sludge. And within those 2 years, they reduced their sludge by 33%. So you can kind of see the differences between them. In 2022, really significant sludge at the back end of Lagoon 1 and throughout all of Lagoon 2. And so that had improved that, which impacted their effluent quality. And even before then and since then, we've been treating with their wastewater in their sewers as well. And we treat in their sewers directly to manage buildup within sewers. There's lots of backups. Often that would be the case where Public Works has to be called out to clean lines, clean pumps, flush lines, and all those kind of things. And biologically, if maintained on a proper, consistent, regular basis, reduces actual maintenance. This one here, we did a survey across 60 different municipalities, all in Saskatchewan actually, this study, and determine the before and after treatment. So they were able to, you could see the 2 different lines. One's the average removal and the top is the maximum that was achieved in any one single system. So by improving and increasing your biology, all we're doing is speeding up nature according to our time frame. That's the difficulty, is we want things done in our time frame, not in what nature wants it to be done. And so by augmenting it biologically, you're able to achieve superior treatment. And that was the case across all these sites here. So here's one of the sites in Saskatchewan that has used it for decades and decades. They've actually been a client of Actizyme since 1954. And around 25 years into being a client, they were told that they had to do a manual desludge. They did that and found that basically there was no buildup even after 25 years. They used a few trucks. It was like within 2 or 3 days. They had anticipated weeks. And at the time, back then, about 25 years ago, they did not do a great deal of detailed survey in their lagoons. They just didn't know what was the lying monster underneath. They just didn't know. So they anticipated that. So 25 years later, basically no sludge. They've now used it since then and still have not dredged. So after 25 years of maintaining exact protocols and treatment, they apply it through all their lift stations, rotate it throughout the whole city. They have been able to not have any manual dredging and saving the towns thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. This one's a little bit more closer to here in Alberta, and based on our discussions with Jason and Eddie, might be more what we're looking at here. So the town of Old has had significant issues with their grease and their lift stations. So much so they couldn't even enter their lift station. It was so horrid. They couldn't even go in to maintain it because the H2S as well is a safety issue. They just couldn't make it and get into it. They had been using Actizyme for, well, now this is old. This is about 12 years now. They apply it directly into their lift station, just so there was simple application of a porous container, which then allows the product to slowly release in the top layer of their lift station. They used to have to clean it almost every single month. It's now significantly lower. So it's reduced their overall maintenance and cleaning by 80%. And I was able to do a video of them inside that lift station. That's what the QR code's for, but a video of them talking about how that experience is. Like, we're surprised we can actually stand in here and talk because of how much it improved the smell as well as the maintenance and so on. Another one here, Invermere, another one in Invermere, as I mentioned before, they've used it everywhere in their system. Actually, let me back up a second. Eddie's been fantastic. Jason, also fantastic. Eddie's called tons of people, all these people, asking, what is your real, actual, talking to the operators in Invermere, asking real hands-on questions. And so I'm sharing what he's actually learned from it, but these are all notes from Invermere, and Eddie's gone through a real good detail talking with everybody. But at this point here, that before their lagoon, they would have massive mats of grease that they would have to remove almost daily. And it was major maintenance. So after treatment throughout their system, that mat no longer appears. It's never there. So it's never come back. They get a little buildup here and there depending on different seasonal things, but it's way more manageable, where before it was, they had to break it up with shovels, manually remove, have big, huge suck trucks pull it and suck it all out in order to maintain the system. So there's some more pictures of other ones that we've rehabilitated. One's the city of Calgary, another one's a municipality way up north and freezing cold temperatures year round. Both of them are showing that within about a 6 to 2 month period, treatment actively, consistently helps break down organics throughout the sewer system. So we've rehabilitated that 24-kilometer line there by applying directly to it. They stopped the water to take the pictures, and then they put the product in, and everything just fell off the sewer pipes. And then the lift station, it was rock hard. They had to go down there and scrape it by hand to remove it. Just after a couple of weeks of application, they were able to spray it. It came all off and fell off, which then now was much easier to maintain. So the whole point of the sewer treatments is to improve maintenance and the use and the cost of staff to do the cleaning, reduce the smell. And then in the lagoons is to maintain the sludge volumes in your treatment so that you're able to reach your permit level that you have, as well as maintaining the trying to delay the costs of other expensive dredging. Because that manual dredging not only can impact the actual infrastructure when not done totally properly, but you may have to take it offline and not get full treatment, where biologically augmenting everything can take care of both things without having those issues. This is what the product looks like. Comes in tubs like this, and everything's pre-measured in water-soluble bags, either 1 kilo, which is the 2.2 pounds, or half a kilo, depending on the type of product. We work with the town, every one of our clients, to come up with custom protocols for every single site, and then we monitor and we work with them to make adjustments. Every lift station, as I'm sure every public work knows, is a completely different beast. Every single one, because who knows what's feeding that specific one? It could be restaurants, it could be a hotel, who knows? So every one of them is a little different, and so that's where we come in and really try and spend time making adjustments, changing how we apply the product. And so we really try and spend the time to make a very successful application of your products. And I think that's the last one. So there's our presentation.
You want to put the motion?
I can read a motion out, and
Yeah,
then we can go to discussion if you like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah, good. Can I get a motion that council approve amending the 2026 to 2030 5-year financial plan to transfer $100,000 in 2026 and $120,000 in 2027 from the desludging reserve to fund a 2-year pilot project that seeks to determine the efficacy of applying granular enzyme treatment to the city's wastewater treatment lagoons and collection system. Mover, please. Councillor Blissett, Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Ray, Councillor Papa.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much to management and staff for bringing forward what for us, I think, is an innovative strategy. It sounds like it's not innovative in other communities where they've been using it a long time, but it's great to see a new strategy come forward. And exciting to have the potential to be able to defer costly maintenance like desludging. So I just wonder if you could comment on the potential cost savings and where you see those those monies might be better used in terms of like addressing other infrastructure deficits that we have in the city.
Through Mayor Price to Councillor Ray, the last desludging was approximately about between 1.5 and 4.5 million dollars. We're looking for 220,000 over the next 2 years. So we feel that this is a very controlled and low risk pilot to go forward. Concerning the funds being used in other infrastructure improvements, we'll talk internally with engineering and Public Works to see where we can best move that monies.
Councillor Papa.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I don't know how unique our wastewater system is with it goes to a spray irrigation cattle grazing fields, but with this enzyme and the activity of taking the solids and dissolving them and eventually getting into our lagoons and then onto the spray irrigation fields for cattle grazing, is there any negative impacts to any of that along the way? Is there going to be siltation or anything happening in our lagoons out at the spray irrigation fields? Are the cattle still going to eat the grass that's produced? I mean, how does all that play out? Is there any best practices happening in other jurisdictions similar to Cranbrook's?
Mayor Price through Mayor Price to Councillor Popoff. None that I am aware of. Possibly Jonathan could talk about a little bit more, but I do know that this is fully permitted under the emergency, with the EMA, the Emergency Management Act, and also the Municipal Wastewater Regulation. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any issues going forward. The enzymes will actually reduce the BOD and the TSS, so our compliance will actually be better in the future with this product. Jonathan, you have.
Yeah, exactly. That is the case. Is when I reviewed the system with Eddie and went through all the different cells, there's plenty of retention time, plenty of space for the biological process to take place. When things become difficult and negative is when there's too much sludge built in it. That then reduces your capacity. Then that's where negative impacts happen on your effluent quality to then be able to spray it, because then the BOD, TSS, and E. coli are too high, which then impacts your pH, your connectivity, and everything else when those are all high. And so really, you guys actually have a great sized system. And so it's the proactive nature of the town to go at it and treat it hard and with more biological activity that should lead to improvements on everything. One of the things that might have happened, but you've just desludged not too long ago. If there's significant amounts of sludge, occasionally what happens is the biological activity converts the sludge into gases directly. Our product does not increase TSS, it actually breaks down and digests TSS and BOD. Is that there are some buildup in some corners that might move up to the top of the surface water, but then it sinks down later on. And so there is some movement in some of the sludge from one cells or from one area to another. So there is that, but you guys had already dredged it and there's no massive amounts of sludge there.
My question was more related to the settling lagoons we have out at the spray irrigation site.
Yeah.
I don't know if you council's been out to the site. We have another number of settling tanks there, holding tanks for further treatment and injection of other chemicals into it to make it usable for spray irrigation purposes for the grazing and the leasing to the ranchers.
Yeah.
None of your applications have been used for something similar to what Cranbrook has for its spray irrigation onto the grass and for its suitability for cattle for the ranchers. Is this going to be the first one?
So we have other clients that do irrigate.
But for cattle grazing?
I'd have to double check if it's cattle grazing, but it is, if they irrigate, it's typically not for human production crops, so it probably would be for grazing. I could double check that. Like we have a couple in Alberta that irrigate and they apply directly to crops for consumption by cattle. Because anytime you use any kind of wastewater for direct application, it cannot be for human consumption. It has to be for animal. So maybe it's not direct grazing, but it's used for animal consumption, those other sites.
So I would take that back and have a look at that, because we spray irrigate both for baling, for hay purposes,
yeah.
and it's all for cattle consumption. And the ranchers are partners in this. And if it turns out over a 2-year test drive that this isn't working out with our ranchers, this may not be a solution to our problem. I love the idea, don't get me wrong. I just don't know if that end use has been actually evaluated before. Likely nothing is a problem, but shouldn't we have some sense of understanding about that before we roll into a 2-year pilot and find out 6 months in, oops, the ranchers are not pleased with the outcome of the grass product.
Maybe one more comment, if it's okay, to answer that part, is what I guess is maybe best understood what the process that we're changing. We're not necessarily integrating anything new into the sewer system. It's the exact same natural process that's already there that we're augmenting. That's the only difference. And so there's nothing new going to be added, like a new chemical or new thing that could impact the grazing or the water there. All it's doing is speeding up the process that's already taking place. That's all that is happening.
I understand.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I just don't know if we have enough information until we actually test drive it. So if at 6 months down the road, something we hadn't thought of before associated with this, with our unique circumstance, council and staff need to have that conversation about this isn't working. So maybe a 2-year window might have to have some escape clauses on that. I'm just looking at those possibilities because it hasn't really. We're going to be the test pilot on this for our unique circumstances. So I love the idea. And if it works, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Quick question. So it's 100% organic? Yeah, great. And I don't want to get into operations, but I'm just curious, how does the injection into our systems go?
Through Councillor Mayor, to the Councillor Mayor, Mayor Price.
To Mayor Lemaire.
Mayor. It's just like in the slide there. It's just those 2.2 pound bags that actually the operators just manually throw it right in there in certain spots, and also within the collection system they'll just manually add it. It's not harmful. It's easy. You can handle it, and yeah, it's just easy throwing it right in there.
Real straightforward. Thank you. Further, council? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thanks. Great presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, Mayor. Both Councillor Stetsky and I had some questions.
Oh, your hands were a little late there. I'm a little quick on the draw today.
Yeah.
There must be a delay.
That's right.
You're local, but I think probably there's quite a delay with Councillor Stetsky there. He must be holiday and vacationing somewhere far away here. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, we got ours on pretty early. So.
Yeah.
So can we still ask the questions?
Yeah, you betcha.
So I had the same questions that Councillor Popoff had potentially about the impact on hay, maybe with a little less of a precautionary approach, because I think I would have supported it anyway. The other aspect to it is, of course, once occasionally we end up then putting the effluent out the far end into the Kootenay River. I'm assuming since in Saskatchewan, a lot of the sewage outflow goes into South Saskatchewan or North Saskatchewan rivers, that there haven't been any issues in terms of what happens when the final product hits fresh water. But if you could comment on that, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes. So one of the important things, and as always, is what is the impact on environmentally, right? But also on fish and aquatic life in rivers and such. So we've conducted studies every few years over and over again to affirm that just our water and only our product has 100% survival rate for all aquatic life. So it's a routine test done by many municipalities. It's called the fish test or toxicology test or toxicity test. And we've passed every single time. So it has zero impact actually on aquatic life. So.
Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. I saw on the slide presentation that there's like Invamere had some, I don't know, if some tests done or some studies done to see how much sludge they had at the beginning of before they started to use the product and how it looked afterwards. I'm just wondering how the city of Cranbrook is going to monitor the success of this product.
Through the mayor to Councillor Peabody, we're developing a very intense monitoring program with our operators. The operators are fully on board and engaged in this, and we'll be monitoring it continuously through testing, sampling for TSS, and also going out into the ponds and physically sampling to see where the accumulation is.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, guys. Next item of new business is from Finance regarding associate member insurance coverage, 2026 general municipal election workers. Can I please have staff provide a brief overview of the report, please? Charlotte.
Thank you, Mayor Price, through to council. So this is a request that council approve service provider insurance through the MIABC for the election workers to be who will be conducting the election in the fall. All contractors are required to carry liability insurance. That's often quite prohibitive for small contractors. So the MIA offers a service provider policy option to their members, and that is at a cost of $250 per calendar year. And our ask is for council to approve that insurance.
Thanks, Charlotte. Can I get a motion that council approves this service provider agreement with the 2026, with the 2026 Cranbrook Municipal Election Workers for the purpose of extending associate member insurance coverage to the city's liability insurance held with the Municipal Insurance Association of British Columbia? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky. Seconder, Councillor Popoff. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Just a delay on Mike, sounded really slow. The next item of new business is also from Finance regarding the 2026 parcel tax roll review panel. Can I please have staff provide a brief overview of the report, please, Charlotte?
Thank you, Mayor, through to council. So the purpose of this report is to appoint at least 3 people as members of the 2026 parcel tax review panel, and to set a time and a place for the sitting of the panel. So this is an annual event. We have sent out letters to the properties that have been affected by changes to the parcel tax, and the deadline for submissions in terms of complaints about the or requests to amend the parcel tax roll were due on Friday. We have received 2 letters. I've responded to one, and the second one will go out tomorrow. The deadline is tomorrow for me to reply. And if the result, or if the information that the applicant receives from me, if they don't agree with that, then they can file a complaint that will be heard at the parcel tax review panel, proposed to be held on Monday, April 27th, 2026 at 10 o'clock here in council chambers. We need 3 panel members. I can't sit on the panel because I'm the collector. And so we are proposing that council appoint a councillor, and then Curtis Penson, manager of engineering, city engineer, and Charlene Courtney, deputy director of finance, would be members of the panel. So we would need council to appoint a member of that review panel.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. I'll ask for volunteers first. Do we have a volunteer? Okay. I'll take that on.
Okay.
Can I get a motion the council appoint Mayor Price, Curtis Penson, manager of engineering, city engineer, and Charlene Courtney, Deputy Director of Finance as members of the 2026 Partial Tax Roll Review Panel, and further that council set the time and place for the city of the 2026 Partial Tax Roll Review Panel to be April 27th, 2026 at 10 a.m. in the council chambers. Mover, please. Councillor Ray. Councillor Statsky. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. The next item of new business is from Engineering Development Services regarding a site-specific exemption to the floodplain management regulations. We have Rob and Curtis on hand to give us an overview of this report. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this request is coming on the heels of all the work we've been doing for the Rotary site. It's kind of the last piece of the puzzle that we identified through the subdivision process. The city engaged with a professional engineer to do a site-specific floodplain review because of the bylaw. The current floodplain bylaw does establish certain provisions, but as we saw from the adjacent property, they were better served by a site-specific review. So we engaged with the professional engineering firm who did the review and came back with a recommendation of having a flood construction level of 931.5, or the highest point would be 931.5 for proposed lot 1, which would be the Rotary project, and then 931 for what would be lot 2. Included in the report, you guys can see the two maps that I took out of the report that basically show the extent of the projected 200-year flood hazard. Majority of the lands are actually even outside of that. They're not even low. They're actually outside of a potential flood hazard. And then the flood construction levels, in a technical term, they're those isobars that you see on the map. But given that the isobars establish the higher point, for ease of application, staff is just recommending that rather than trying to calculate the flood construction level between two isobars, we just pick the highest one, and that's the base that the underside of a floor system would have to be developed to. So how this would apply basically in the context of the Rotary project, for example, would be that the crawl space or basement floor would have to meet that minimum elevation if there's going to be any infrastructure that could be damageable by floodwater, essentially, if that was a worst case scenario. So yeah, so staff's recommendation is that we just establish the highest number being 931.5 and 931, and then that the recommendation be registered on title of the properties in form of a restrictive covenant, so they're binding.
Thanks for your report, Rob. Can I get a motion that council approve the following site-specific exemption to flood construction levels? 931.5 meters for proposed lot 1, plan EPP 150489, and 931 meters for proposed lot 2, plan EPP 150489, being created by the subdivision of lot 218, distant lot 22, Kootenay District Plan 887, except parcel A, C 59161, and lot 219, District Lot 22, Kootenay District Plan 887, except 1, parcel A, C 59161, and 2, parts included in plans 9730 and 10114, and lot E, District Lot 22, Kootenay District Plan 887, except 1, parcel lot 1, C 14451, and 2, parts included plans 5421, 9730, and 10114, subject to a restricted covenant establishing the flood construction levels being registered of the properties. Mover, please. Councillor Blissett, Councillor Popoff, discussion. I'm sure everybody understood all that I was explaining there. But anyways, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks, guys. Great work, guys. Appreciate it. The next item of new business also from Engineering Development Services regarding budget reallocation for environmental studies of 22 Briar Avenue Northwest former Knights Hall and Tudor House property. Pardon me. And we have staff on here to give an overview of that report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Now that the surface cleanup is completed, we've got an understanding of where our budget is at. So Council originally allocated 1.29 million to the surface cleanup and demolition of the buildings of the site. Through the hard work of staff and the contractors, we were able to bring the final costs in around 830,000 and recycle, I think it was around 100 bins worth of metal. So a lot of cost savings there. Great news. There's still some grass seeding to occur on the site, but given that there's about $460,000 left of the 22 Briar Avenue Northwest cleanup project. So from that, moving into the phase 2 of the project that was kind of outlined for each step, the Chief Administrative Officer, in alignment with the purchasing policy, approved staff undertaking the stage 1 preliminary site investigation for $5,500. So that's come back in draft. It's identified 5 areas of concern on the site, all related to the heating mechanism used in the old hospital. So either being coal, the coal-fired burner, coal storage, coal ash, and then also the oil, when it was converted to oil. So there's some oil above ground storage tank, and then also an oil spill that occurred during the first fire in the early 2000s that were identified. So we're asking to reallocate the remaining budget to move into the environmental studies and cleanup portion so that we can move into the stage 2 preliminary site investigation to do the kind of preliminary invasive, do some test pitting, drilling to see if there's any contamination on the site. We're anticipating some because there's pictures of coal and ash on site that we can see, but it's just how much is there. So we want to get an idea of what's there and then go into the detailed site so we know what it's going to take to look at remediating the property so we can actually make it sellable or developable depending on what council wants to do.
Thank you, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council authorizes the reallocation of the remaining unused funds from the 22 Briar Avenue Northwest cleanup project to undertake environmental studies of 22 Briar Avenue Northwest, former Knights Hall, and Tudor House property? MOBA? Councillor Popoff, Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Popoff, and Councillor Stetsky, then Councillor Peabody.
I think this is important for the city to keep on top of this. I mean, if we want to expedite eventually the sale of this property, let's us, as long as we can afford it, go through the processes dealing with the government agencies and keep it forefront for the city rather than make it maybe a detriment to the future buyer. We will recoup our costs with it anyway, so I don't see that as a negative. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I see this as, I guess, a positive, but my question is this a requirement before the city can put the land up for sale? Or is it a nice to do where we could put the land up for sale tomorrow and let the buyer look after the environmental concerns?
Councillor Stetsky, through the mayor, the city could list the property for sale as is. We would have to disclose what we've found to date. However, being that it's an unknown, that would be a deterrent to what we could get back in the sale proceeds. And whoever buys it, if they wish to develop the site, they would have to go through the steps anyways. So that is a discussion for council and a decision for them to make as part of the decision to either undertake the work now or that's the off ramp is, do we look at leaving it or selling it?
Thank you. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Just looking at where the contaminated sites are on the property, could you develop around the contaminated sites and then just where the land is contaminated, just turn that into a parking lot? Or do you have to do the mediation before you can develop there?
Councillor Peabody, through the mayor, These are the areas on the map, are the areas of concern where it's believed these uses have been undertaken. So either the ash storage or disposition or the coal storage. We'd actually have to go through the detailed site investigation to determine what the extents of the contamination were. And then depending on those results, we can, it'll either be contaminated or not. And if it is contaminated, we could look at either remediation or through a risk management lens. And the risk management lens is to limit development on site and different types of forms of development or how to management in those certain areas depending on the contamination. So until we actually go through with these studies, it's essentially frozen the site and we can't do it. Any development can't proceed.
Okay. And I have one more question, if that's okay.
Certainly.
So you're saying we have to spend upwards of 188,000. Now, is the hope is that 188,000 will fully clean the property, or that's just to complete the tests to see how much remediation needs to be done?
Councillor Peabody through the mayor again. The best case scenario is we go through the stage 2 and we find there's no contamination. However, that or very little contamination, but if there is some contamination, we will have to do some more either applications or reporting to the ministry to get the releases we need to either rezone or develop the property or get a certificate of compliance that will allow development for somebody else to undertake that.
Okay, so the possible 188,000 is just to do the stage 2 testing. Is that correct?
The stage
stage 2 evaluation. Yeah.
Yeah, the stage 2 and the detailed site investigation, and then if it's not contaminated, there's likely going to be some more reporting to the ministry or applications or remediation, and then those reporting depending on what we find.
Okay, so the 188,000 could just be the beginning of a bigger investment.
That's correct. I mean, the one good thing is that after we're done the DSI, I mean, if the city does want to sell it, at least the developer getting into it would know what we have and what needs to go beyond if the council doesn't want to actually remediate it and go for the COC.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly, yeah, Curtis, I agree with that. You know, I think this is a good proposal. We got a very well situated property. We won't know the true value of that until the environmental work's done. Somebody's going to have to do it. It's all going to factor into the cost, and you know what, with the city, I guess, revenues balance on that. So we know what we're going into. We know what the value of the land is, and I think as well, it's in our best interest to clean it up. That we've got a project-ready piece of property that's, you know, some development comes along, and they do come along, and you know what? Often they're looking for development-ready properties, and this would be development-ready at the end of the day. So yeah, I think it's a good move. Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Really good report. Final item, new business tonight is from Recreation and Culture regarding civic celebration Spirit of the Rockies Festival policy number 2006. Can I have staff give an overview of this report? Who do we have?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a pretty basic update of the Spirit of the Rockies Festival Policy number 2006. Based on the February 23rd council meeting, council directed staff to then update the policy to include the official change of the festival's designation from the largest civic celebration in the city of Cranbrook to the official civic celebration in the city of Cranbrook. And as well, this policy does add the authorization for the Director of Recreation and Culture to allow free public transportation on the Saturday of the festival weekend to limit those routine costs that come, routine calls that come every single year for that waiver. As well, staff are going to have a proposed, in addition to this policy procedure, staff will work directly with society to develop a letter of understanding to further clarify responsibilities of all parties. And that's basically the essence of this policy update, as well with the recent adoption of the recreation and culture fees and charges bylaw. There is alignment with both those documents now.
Thanks, Bradley. Can I get a motion that council approve the amended civic celebration Spears of the Rockies Festival policy number 20-06? Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Bissett. Discussion? Quick comment, I guess. I think this is a very good amendment. Certainly recognizing the Spirit of the Rockies Festival. We're actually recognizing the Spirit of the Rockies group as well. It formalizes the relationship, certainly with that group in the city of Cranbrook. Going forward now, we have a statement in place that this is our annual festival, which I think is extremely important that we do formalize that. And I think for funding purposes, this could go a long way. Certainly, you know, council has talked about entertainment, you know, the city hosting and promoting entertainment and us being on the hook, you know, for the costs. We've talked about working with private entrepreneurs. Certainly Spirit of the Rockies, there's a lot happening around then that, you know, involves events. This connection to the city, I'm really optimistic, you know, that we could even be bridging some funding on this, you know, with Cranbrook Tourism or Visit Cranbrook. We've got a formal relationship with them. There's, you know, significant funding we see, you know, from the city to that group. And, you know, I could certainly see our Spirit of the Rockies festivals considerably enhanced with additional funding through this partnership. So it's really a three-way partnership is how I see it. So yeah, I think it works really well. Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Moving into administrative updates, our one administrative update tonight is from the CEO's office and Recreation and Culture regarding the City and College of the Rockies City Studio Agreement update. Mark, are you going to speak to that? Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Price. So yes, this was the council members signing the agreement with the college. So we've been working on creating a more formalized partnership, and you know, there's a lot to that. And so what we wanted to do is find some areas that would be easy to prove out in order to get more involvement with the departments and with the different profs at the college. So just the hats off to the Culture and Rec team for taking on the first start to that this year was through the nursing students. So what that was some public outreach looking at what 13 to 17-year-olds want in the youth programming, and then we can use that information to change our programming to better meet the needs in Cranbrook, doing a bunch of outreach using the students. And I won't say a lot about that because what we're working on now is having the actual nursing students come and present to council on April 14th or 13th, I think. So so I'll leave it at that for this presentation, but it is a success story for sure, and we're hoping to expand that out to more programs for next year. So we're just working away with the college on that.
Good news. Thank you very much, Mark. We'll move into correspondence. We have one piece of correspondence tonight. Would council like to receive it for information, discuss, or make a motion? I've got a motion on hand if we prefer a motion on this. Okay. Can I get a motion that council receive this correspondence from Trevor Lundy, production manager at Cranbrook Community Theatre, dated March 10th, 2026, regarding a sponsorship request for the Abbott Awards? And further, that council approve a donation in the amount of $200, source of funds, council contingency. Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. All in favor? Oops, one moment. Councillor Ray.
I don't know if we want to consider a slight amendment to the motion or just maybe just include this in the letter to the applicant if the motion is approved, just to refer them for future years to the municipal nonprofit granting program, just because council contingency is meant to be for unexpected items. So totally appropriate for this year, but so if we just want to include that in the letter, that's fine, but just wanted to note that for their reference for future years.
Yeah, that's a good point for ongoing, funding requests. That's certainly the process that we'd like to see. And I believe that finance has been mentioning that in some of the correspondence when they do reply. So thank you very much for that. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks so much, guys. That brings us now to Mayor and Council's reports and inquiries. Let's start with, I see Councillor Peabody up there, then Councillor Stetsky.
Nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, a few things. Thank you. I had the opportunity to attend half a day at the Convergex conference that Darren organized for Cranbrook. And I must say I was really, really impressed with the quality of the presentations, including yours, of course, Mayor. But I was really impressed by the people that were there. There were businesses going on in Cranbrook that I had no idea are recognized internationally. And for the opportunity in future to build on that particular aspect of business was very impressive. So thank you to Darren for bringing that to Cranbrook. I attended the official opening of the elevator at Key City Theatre. There were lots of jokes about moving up in life, and appropriate for the occasion. But really, congratulations to Galen and his staff for putting together a number of grants and surviving a number of setbacks to get that elevator up and running. The next step, of course, is going to be providing some accessible seating up at the top of the theater. So that project is still to come, but that was great. And thirdly, and finally, I'd like to just thank ET for setting up a system that works all the way from St. Lucia. That's a long ways from Cranbrook, but the evening has been flawless. And so thank you to our IT people for making it work so well.
Thanks very much, Wayne. Councillor Papa. Nothing? Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. On Sunday, March 15th, it was my honor to represent Mayor and Council at the opening ceremonies for the Tier 1 U13 Provincial Hockey Championships. So thank you and congratulations to all the volunteers who make an event of that size happen. Lots and lots of work. And yeah, great to see all those young athletes gathered here in Cranbrook to have a really good hockey tournament. On the 18th, I also attended the Ministerial Association's prayer breakfast. So thank you to the Ministerial Association for hosting that event.
Councillor Bissett. Nothing, and I have nothing. So what I'll do is I'll ask for a motion to go back into close, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Bissett, all in favor?